Hello there, folks.
Hi there.
So it's another episode of Würfelcast, episode 64.
Hooray!
It is, hooray. Though I looked at the number of videos we have, I mean it's about 70 because we had some. I named few of them Würfelcast special. I didn't number
You
them,
did,
but it was your early top 100 or mine as well. I don't remember, but
maybe.
yeah, some of those videos
Just stick
were
with the numbering. We're fine.
yeah. Though I mean, like, if we ever get to 100, should we get to 100 at the episode 94 or at episode
We can
100
get there.
officially?
We can get there more than once.
True. This episode 100, and from here on, no more numbering. I was thinking about that at some point I will not number stuff and just do that way. It won't age. When you think about it, if you put down episode 1 in the name and then there's episode 100 and people like look at, oh, this is an older episode, but if it's
We
just the
should be
name,
like comic books and just randomly start renumbering at various times.
that as well. Yeah, but anyway, this is episode 64. We have our usual uh, podcast vidcast with all the topics as we usually do, and the topic of the day
and
is top 10 games we cooled down on.
oh, that's hot.
Yes. So these are the games we used a lot of ice on, and yeah, it just became all blurry, and games became wet, and we couldn't play them again. And yeah, no,
Okay.
just stop me there.
Uh,
Just stop me.
I don't know
Just
what you're
stop me.
doing, but all right.
Yeah, but we'll get to the topic of the day, and first of all, let's do the honorable recent plays. And let me do this special magical approach to this topic, which is using Board Game Geek. There's nothing magical in it, but anyway, why don't you start, Kyle?
Okay, so a recent play for me is one that I played, as recently as yesterday, and that is the brand new Wonderland's War.
Okay.
So this is a weird game. I don't know quite how to describe it. It's a bit area control. It's a little bit sort of bag construction, pool building like Quacks of Quedlinburg. Some a bit of moving around a track that goes one way. It's got a little bit of everything. And so you take the role of a Wonderland character, and you start out each round moving around this table. It's the tea party phase, and you're going to move and collect a card, and the card's going to let you place your people out on different locations on the board and give you some other bonuses. You might get chips to add to your bag. You might get some upgrades. There are various things you can get. And then after everyone's done 4 cards, you move on to the war phase where you're going to resolve these conflicts. And the conflicts, what you're doing is you have a number of workers in this spot, and those are kind of your life. They don't add any strength to the combat or anything. There's some other things that do, but these workers they just let you stay in the fight. And so everyone's gonna reach in the bag simultaneously, reveal 1 chip, or if you're done, you can reveal an empty hand, and then you'll resolve the chip's ability. Usually, it's going to give you some kind of strength, some kind of bonus, but there are madness chips in there, and when you place those, you take the workers away from the area. And if you're out of workers, you bust, you get nothing. And
Yeah.
if you don't, you just keep going until either someone gets to 25 on the strength track, or until everyone has really passed or busted. And the reason why it's important to stop at different times is that my chips don't look like that. Mine are just cardboard. Is that you have these goal cards that are related usually to your position on a track. So it's stop. Have your last chip be a 1, or in this area, or have your last chip be a stop on one of these forge symbols. So there's reasons why you might want to stop short of winning in order to get more points from your goals, and I think that's really interesting. It was a very early learning game, right? The rules are not great in this. They are organized on the random system, and the rule book is like large format, so it's difficult to find things in. But we figured it out. We got there. It
Yeah.
just took a while because we were really trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? And there are some concepts that we didn't realize were important early on, and then figured out they were. But hey, we were learning all with the same level of experience, and so the game ended with like a 5 point difference. But hey, it's better to win by a little than win by a lot usually in games like this. I thought it was quite fun. It's definitely a combination of different things, and that made it interesting. I I don't know. I wish the characters have special abilities and such that you can upgrade. I wish that we had figured that out earlier so that we could have spent more time being more different. But that's what the second play is for. I've only played it the one time so far, but I really did enjoy it, and it's it feels different, so that's always good.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I've seen this on the on Kickstarter a long time ago. I think it was like at least 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it
And
was on Kickstarter. I didn't get it from the Kickstarter though. I was like, when it was on Kickstarter, and then I saw that it was out and got a copy.
yeah, my concern was like my own, like I have a taste um, related to my own taste. It's like air control, I'm not really into that, so that's why I didn't get it. Though I do like it looks, I do like the theme, and I did like several games that they put out. It's it's
I
it's
know.
so colorful. Yeah, I just like colorful games and cool themes. Like it's not your usual. It uses they use a lot of fairy tale and dream and stories and whatever. They use such cool themes that are not used that much nowadays because I don't know. It's hard to put the war into the fairy tale realm rather than into the fantasy realm or sci-fi or something like that. So I
Yeah.
haven't seen that many fairy tale themed games than your usual fantasy.
Well, there are quite a few of them, and there are quite a few Alice in Wonderland themed games, most of which involve tea for whatever reason. But and those are because these are public domains, so they don't have to pay for the IP. But it works. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I would like to play it another time so I can get a better handle on it. So that's I guess the best I can say about it now.
Yeah, yeah. But just to be precise, yeah, there are a lot of not a lot, quite a few Alice in Wonderland themed games. But how many of them you really have seen out there? It's like they are these small, very small games, very small print runs, very small publishers. It's usually not a well used theme. It's either not a good game or just an
That's
unknown
true.
one. I, I I don't know any Alice in Wonderland themed game which is at, at least somewhat popular.
Worth your time. Well, this
Worth
one
your
is.
time. Yeah.
Everyone, I mean, it seems like
It
it's
seems
well
to be. Yeah.
regarded. And the board is huge. I don't know, that picture doesn't do it justice, but it is an enormous board.
Huh,
It is
yeah.
way too big.
All right. So my pick for the recent play, and that's the most recent game I played a few days ago. The one I think we talked about during the last episode, during the top 10 adventure games. I think it was on your list, and I said that if I would have played it, something like that.
Okay.
So, Forgotten Waters,
Ah,
I finally got to play it.
oh, good.
Yeah, and yes, it's a good game. It's a really good game. Um, I don't want to spoil too much. So this, I mean, like you can't really spoil. It's your story. It's a scenario-based game with like two parts in each scenario, as I understood. I only played the
Yes.
first one. We
Okay.
played the first. We played two times in a row. It was like the whole day. Like we played for
Yes,
several
it's very
hours.
long.
Each session, if you wanna, you can save it after the first part, and then you can go on with the second part. We just wanted to go through the whole thing, and then we lost, and then we played again, and then we won
Mhm.
because we then understood what we should do. In the
Right.
sense of the game, the game wants us to choose. But so it's a crossroads game where you move your ship around and you basically flip this book which has let's say worker spots, but this is like RPG like stuff where you choose some stuff and then you need to do particular skill checks or you just get some storylines, etc., and so on. And then you just go through the scenario, through the story, finding stuff, getting on those different tiles, different numbered tiles, and it's an app based where you insert the number into the app and gives you the story with the cool voiceover, etc., and give you some
Mhm.
stuff or give you some bad stuff, rough seas or something like that, or someone attacks you, whatever. I don't want to spoil too much, but
Ooh.
yeah, the part of it is also distributing. So we play the two-play game, and there's some, this is variants, but let it be.
Yes.
So basically, it plays the same. So you split the different roles, kind of but to be honest, who cares? Who like? Oh, you're the first mate, and you're the cannoneer, whatever, and like who cares? I mean, like we can all decide on all of this together. I just didn't really think. I mean, maybe for the sense of just it's you controlling something, but it felt the same as with the sorry. It felt the same as with the last expedition that I played, where you have this central row of characters. You have three characters, and then you kind of uh, use them together. It's the same way
Right.
here. I kind of felt like,
Yeah.
yeah, we distributed the different roles. Like, oh, I need to manage the crew. I need to manage the fame track, whatever, and
Right.
then the cannons. It's all like we did all together as a two-player team. I
Right.
just
I agree with that.
I
Those
don't
are
I
just
don't understand why. It's my small concern.
it's just so that everybody, so that one person isn't in charge of keeping track of all the details. It's really just for that.
Okay. Yeah.
There's not really a strategic advantage of moving the reputation track or adjusting the cannon slider, and people just kind of spread. Whenever I've played it, I mean, people have kind of taken their role, but oftentimes it just ends up with me doing all the tracking anyway
Yeah.
because other
Yeah.
people don't care about that and just want to play the game.
But
That's
overall, it's
not
it's it's yeah.
part of the
Uh,
design, really.
Yeah, but overall, it's your little bit of that. Not little bit. It's a die fest. It's RPG like. You go there, you roll the dice, you look at the symbols, so you shouldn't read. There's the left side of the book and the right side of the book or the page. The left side is your worker spots. Some of them are mandatory to go to. Some of them are solo. Some of them anybody can go there, or all of you can go there, and the other side is just these storylines or some choices or whatever or skill checks. And the cool part, what the rule book says, is that don't read the right
Right.
part of the book. Just go with your gut and go with the symbols that you see. At first it's a little bit confusing, and then I started reading those symbols. It was really easy. It was really to get into. And then I'm like, okay, so that's cool. So I see I need this and that skill over here. I'm good at that skill. Let's go. And upgrading
Hmm.
your skills, it's just there's not many rules. The app does a lot of things. It just
Yeah.
go in there, enjoy the adventure, enjoy the exploration, enjoy the story. That's the game. I cannot tell you more. I don't want to like everything else is just enjoy the story. There's
Yeah.
nothing more to say, and go for those scenarios. I really enjoyed this one. I think
Good.
it was, if I get back to, is it 2020 game, something like that?
Yes.
It would be my top three of 2020. It's just an amazing experience that I had with this game.
Great.
And whoever says that apps shouldn't be in games, I care not. This one just works with the app so well. And the crossroad system is, I think, much better than in Dead of Winter. The crossroad system just works because the app deals with it. You just go
Hmm.
to a tile, you just put in the number, and then you get it. You don't have to, like in Dead of Winter, like you have to read. Oh, so if that player scratches the nose, then you read
Hmm.
this card, and then you stop everything. It feels like out of it feels like a little bit of like a nonsense to me, though it was innovative, it was cool. But here, you go there, and you need to insert that number, and you will get some story. That's the crossroad. You will get it, but it's still cool. What I'm gonna
Right.
get? So I see there's the silhouette of the ship, and there's the island, and it's raining. The style shows me something like that, I'm like, okay, so I'm probably gonna get something like that. Maybe not.
Yep.
So yeah, Forgotten Waters, a great adventure game. Check it
Yeah.
out.
And another thing about it, I mean, after you've played through, you can replay the scenarios without a problem, right? Because the stories, look, the overall arc is going to be the same, but the interactions and experiences will be different. But there's also a downloadable expansion that adds several more scenarios if you get
One,
tired of the first
I
five.
think. No, it
Is
was
it only
one
one? I
scenario.
it only adds one. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I download it, but I haven't played with the new stuff. I've just always played with the old stuff.
I mean, it adds one scenario. I read into it, and so
Okay.
it adds one scenario, but it adds the DLC, but adds a lot of encounters, something like
Okay.
probably more crossroad cards.
More stuff that you're not that you might see. Good.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So
I'm glad you
uh,
enjoyed it.
let's get to the next topic, which is the cult of the old. So Kyle, why don't you start?
All right. This game is it's been on my to play again list for a while. Every time I'm about to get it played, somebody says, I don't want to play a cooperative game, or I don't want to play that game. So it's been on the list for a little while. The game is an old one. I don't know from when, but definitely old, and that is Ghost Stories. This is an older cooperative game, famously difficult. Although I got to a point where I was winning the base game on normal difficulty fairly frequently. But you are a team of four monks, and you are fighting off a horde of ghosts from, I think the guy's name is Wu Fang, and he's the Lord of the Ghosts. And so you've got special abilities that kind of enable you to manipulate the dice or be stronger in certain areas. There's a bunch of different ways that they can be used. And you're going to go around on your turn. You'll move around, and if you're in a spot with these ghosts, you'll essentially roll some dice and use those dice to defeat the ghost. Each ghost has a list of symbols it needs up in the top left corner. It often has some bad things on the bottom left corner that it's going to do if you don't defeat it. And you're also, you can, if it, since there's a lot of die rolling, there's a big ghost. You can get these tokens that you can use as a guaranteed hit for certain dice. It's very lucky, but in a way that makes sense, because you're also able to do so much to make sure you get the right luck at the right time. It's a game that has, I'm assuming, held up pretty well, because I have not played it for a little while, but I really enjoyed it back in the day. I found it was a satisfying challenge, and it looked great too. It has good artwork, especially on the cards. Some of the is creepy and not fun to look at, but well done all around, and a classic game that I would love to try again.
I totally agree. This is a great game that I remember one day me and my friend Oh, it was a long time ago. It was 2013, I think. It just came out. It came out 2012. Yeah, and 2013 or 14, I think, was the one where we just sat down. We played, I think, 5 or 6 times in a row because we just wanted to win. And we're like, we're
Mhm.
losing again. We have to figure this one out. Like, and this is not your 20-minute game. It's
No, it's longer.
we played for the whole day. We just wanted to win, and then when we finally won, it was such a and it was the easiest something difficulty. I like, oh my god, we did it. And yeah, it was such a blast. And then the expansion as well. The
First
first
one.
one, the first one good. The second one, I don't care about. The
That
White
one's kind of
Moon, I
weird.
think, was the one. Yeah,
White Moon is the good one, and Black Death or
Black
Black
Stories,
Secret.
Black Stories, something like that.
Is that what it is? I thought it was Black Secret, but
Black
uh,
Secret, yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
Black Secret, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Okay,
the
and a lot of promo cards.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But White Moon added some cool new, difficulties, but also added some cool fighting power that you can
Mhm.
use in order to
That's right.
defeat ghosts, which just added more possibilities and then math to the game. Yeah, good choice.
Good, and definitely old enough.
Definitely old enough, yes. So for my Cult of the Old, and I somehow I lost my phone somewhere where I do have the list I have. For, let me just be here for a moment. I don't know where's my phone. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah. For my Cult of the Old, I already forgot because it's so old. No, I'm kidding. Is the game that I played recently, and the deluxeified edition of that game came out later, but the initial release of that game, deluxeified, just made it more plushy, look a little bit cooler. But the initial game came out in 2017, yeah, and that's Gentis. And I'm gonna show you the deluxeified edition. You might still find it somewhere, maybe, I don't know,
for a deep discount.
or in the aftermarket. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I do have this one deluxeified.
I
It's
gotta play
as
this
just
one again.
a lot of tiles. So yeah, this is a civilization game, but it's your Euro game where you collect points. So basically, think about the cards that you have. These cards down there, these are like contract cards, and then they give you the kind of um, the requisites you need to get. For example, you need to get that many these workers or people, that many that people, and so on. So, and you have your own track of people. Maybe I'll find it somewhere. Yeah, over here on the right side, and you need to kind of a match the prerequisites of the card, and then you can build a card. You can get some points, some extra points, whatever, maybe some discounts, some extra stuff, bonuses, etc. So, and you are basically fulfilling these contracts, and it all evolves around you getting the tiles from the center of the board, these chunky pieces in the deluxe version, and these chunky pieces go into your board, and they give you the access to the actions, but they also take time, and you have a
Right.
certain amount of action points. So you put these chunky pieces of the yeah, deluxe edition. You put these pieces of sand timer on top of them,
Right.
not on top of them, next to them. So you have to manage your time track very carefully of what you want to do during this turn, how you do the maximum of whatever you can do, and then everything else is just the blah around it, where you put the not the area control, but the area majority type of stuff, where you put the houses down, you get some
Right.
bonuses for that. Then you have the separate houses thing for wild stuff, whatever. But it all evolves around these action tiles that you put down and the contracts. This is the main thing over there, and I
Yep.
like the market. It's where you buy new people, and
Mm-hmm.
when you buy new people, uh, they become more expensive. Like for example, if I buy a priest, it then becomes more expensive. So it's kind of has this rotational market mechanic, where,
Hmm.
for example, in the same way, like the Arc Nova has the card mechanic, where if you use that particular card, it becomes more expensive. Then you have to wait for it to come back. You have to use something else, or you wait. And here, this market is shared, which means that if somebody else manipulates it, so you are probably waiting for somebody else to manipulate it in the way that it's more beneficial for you. Overly a great production for the Deluxified edition. I've always felt like I don't need this game. It just sounds so boring and gray
And it
and
looks pretty
brownish,
boring. Uh
and it looks
huh.
boring. But I like these chunky pieces.
Yep.
But when I started playing this, such a cool kind of like an engine building, like this crucial time track uh, management, and the your usual contracts thing. But it altogether, it just sounds boring. Altogether, it's so much fun, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Good.
that's Gentes Gintis. I don't know, whatever. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. It doesn't look like the type of game you would jump into, but I'm glad you were
Yes,
able to get past that because it is a pretty ugly game, but it's a lot of fun. I've got to pull it back out again. I have one friend who I remember really liked it, so maybe if I can get her to come over, I can play it again.
true. All right. And for those who look at me and think that I act weird on camera, it's
You
because
do.
just a bit of flu, just a bit of flu. So I don't want you to hear me sneezing or anything like that. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm fighting it. I'm fighting it. I'll be fine. Don't worry
Okay.
about me. Don't you worry about a fee. Okay, let it be. Let's get to the next topic, which is the funky components. So these are the weird, these are the cool, the outstanding components of a particular game, whatever you choose.
All right, and so I'm up first. I don't think I've talked about this one before because I only got the game a very short time ago. But this game is basically 90% funky components and 10% game.
Funko?
That's well, yeah, and that's a bit of an exaggeration. But the game is Foundations of Rome,
Mm,
which I talked about in our After the Cruise episode, but somehow hasn't been back in since. This game is overproduced to the point of being ridiculous. The funky components, of course, are all of these large minis, which are these buildings that sit around the board, and that's an early version. These are well, it might be the current version. Mine might have a wash on them, so they don't quite look like that. But they're these large buildings, and that's what you're
um,
doing is you're putting out you're buying lots, and then you're going to replace the lot tokens with these buildings, and the buildings are going to score you in various and sundry ways. There's also monuments, which are five or six wild buildings that kind of come in and out every game. So you'll have a few different things, which is kind of fun. That's somebody playing the solo version there. Um, Now these buildings could have been tokens, right? They could have been cardboard tokens, and that would have reduced the price of the game dramatically. As it is, this is I think the only version that there is has these big ridiculous components that are fun to play with, but um, the box is
yeah,
enormous in order to house everything. And so there's that. It means you'll never take it with you anywhere. It's a game that's going to live at home, so that might impact people's ability to access it. But regardless, they definitely stand out. They're kind of wild looking, and they create a very interesting effect when the board is all full. So love them or hate them, they're definitely funky.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I've seen this one in person. So, but I was
Yeah,
like, oh, a toy factor. I don't care about tiling that much.
yeah.
Just
Well,
play
so
this
the
toy.
issue is right. I mean, it's probably a thirty to $40 game in a $230 package.
That's
Uh,
the problem. That
so
is the problem. It's just it's where the toy factor just outweighs the the game. I've
yeah,
looked
I'll
at
say
this one. I have no desire playing this one because it
uh,
just looks it sounds boring. It's not
Well,
worth it's not worth this much. I don't understand that
I,
it's a deluxeified version, but I don't care.
it's also the only version. So whether it's deluxe or not,
Whatever.
the
Yeah.
thing I would say is it's a very nice game. It would work well with a lot of people. It would be, if we did a family games list, this would definitely be on there. But for its funky components, because I
Hmm.
can't give this away as a gift.
I wouldn't put it
I
on my family games list because the family games should also be accessible and
So I
not too
said
expensive.
it would be on there, but for its funky components, which have driven up its
Mm,
price. I mean, the gameplay and the mechanisms are very easy to get into and very enjoyable, but
all right.
it's a bit overproduced.
I forgive you. All right. So for mine is a rather it's a cheaper game, definitely, and not all of its components are as funky, and only just one tiny bit of that is funky. And I'm talking about the Harry Potter Hogwarts battle, and the small things I like are these skull tokens. They have
Oh,
some weight to them. I do enjoy them. They look cool. They can be used in fantasy games. I like they are like this kind of a stock type of components. They're tiny, cool. They can be used in various games. In my opinion, you can put them in RPG as well, etc. They can be used as somebody's earrings if you make them into earrings, etc. I don't know. People are
okay.
different. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, I just do enjoy these tiny tokens. They just feel right in my hand.
Yeah, they look they they look nice.
Because they're texturized. This is not just your
Yes.
plain simple thing. They are texturized. They have weight to them. These are like coins. As when you use metal coins as well. It's like
Mhm.
the same feeling. You just need the metal coins, and here it just adds to this cardboard
Sure.
nonsense. All right,
Very well.
let's get to the topic of the day, which is top 10 games we cooled down on. So now, um, for me, of course, these are the games that I'm not as highly interested in right now. All the games that I have on my list are the ones I enjoy, and I would play them.
Oh,
Um, it was it wasn't that difficult, but was somewhat difficult to make this list now because, in my opinion, there are some games that I haven't played for a long time, and I have nostalgia for them. And then I'm like, have I cooled down on them, or just I haven't played them in a while? It's that I cannot really rate them. I cannot really tell if I cooled down on them. Maybe I'll play them again. I'll be like, wow, I missed that for years. So I went with the games where I really felt about like when I played it again, it wasn't as good
oh,
as as it should have been when I played it maybe for the first time. So this is the definitive definition of my list. And of course,
no.
the 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 more we go up the list, the more difference is in there. The more I am kind of a tired of this game or whatever.
I may have approached my list differently. These are
That's fine.
all my games are games that at one point I was super excited about. And then, now over time, for various reasons, I just am less excited about them. They're just games that have cooled down for me. And I ranked mine largely in terms of how much, I guess, how big and hot I was on the game. And then, versus now I'm a lot less so, at
Nope.
least I think. And in many cases, how much money I spent on the game.
Yeah. I basically the same. It's the same definition. It's
Okay.
just
Just different
maybe
approach.
just a tiny bit different approach, but it's the same thing. So we did the
Yeah.
same stuff.
Okay,
So
good.
I think without further ado, let's just start with the number 10.
All right, my number 10 is a game that was in the top half of my top 100 for a little while. It was a game that's based on a book, and it's the sequel to another very popular game based on a book. This game is called World Without End. World Without End
Oh, yeah.
is, I don't know if you've even heard much about this game.
I
So
heard
this
about
was
this one.
the sequel to Pillars of the Earth, and it has
Yeah,
nothing to do with Pillars of the Earth. It's
yeah,
it's an interesting game where you're kind of building these houses and fighting the plague and trying to build a bridge and a tower for the cathedral. And there's a lot going on, but really what you're doing that looks different. Um,
it's
you've
a. It
got
might be different language versions. Might
okay.
look
Because
just a bit
I don't
different.
remember it looking like that. It looks like only half the board. Anyway, so you've got a lot of resource management that's going on here, and you're drawing these cards and orienting them in a different way so that everybody's getting a different bonus, which was kind of an interesting mechanism. But ultimately, it kind of feels it's one of those games that the last time I played it, I was like, I'm not sure what I saw in this game before. It feels, especially in light of Pillars of the Earth, which is so highly regarded. This one kind of feels like you're just kind of churning a mill. You're like,
Mhm.
okay, I've got to do this, and the reason I've got to do this is because I know something bad is going to be happening in 2 turns, and so I need to do this so that I'm prepared. And it just really never felt like I'm going out and doing something interesting. I'm more just kind of treading water, trying to make it to the end. Is how I felt after coming back to this game a couple of years later. So I've definitely cooled down on it. I'm assuming you haven't played it at all. So
No.
there you go.
Yeah. Um, my number 10 is the game which is dear and near to my heart, and I love it still. Don't get me wrong. It just I've cooled down on it. It just I played it a ton. I don't know exactly how many times I played it. So, for example, if Kyle says he plays something a ton, it's in hundreds. If I say I played something in ton, it's about maybe 50 times for me, because
Okay.
at some point, because as I wasn't playing that often throughout the years, and when I review games, it just I don't have much time. Now, this game I played a ton for in my perspective, and that's Cyclades.
Okay.
And I still love the game. It's my go-to area control game because as you know, I'm not the biggest fan of area control, but hear me out. It's a Euro game. It's a danger. It's kind of like a threat type area control where there is a threat, but it's not like Kemet where I'm gonna attack you next turn and then you attack me back next turn. It's nothing like that. It's always this kind of a threat, and then mostly it's building up using the powers of gods, using the monsters. And I like how the monsters are only there for a turn. And now add the expansion. I like the Hades expansion a ton. It adds modules which make the game so much better. And I always tell people that many people and reviewers as well, they have skipped Hades for some reason. Maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't as big, and then
True.
they play Titans and they say Titans is great. No, the Titans is a different game. Just think about it as a totally different game, and Cyclades being on its own with the Hades, and I
hmm
still love it. It just this design just needs a revamp, and I know the revamp is in the works, and we'll see how it goes. I just want it to be implemented even better. Like take some of the elements of some of the expansion. I have all these monuments and the Hades, the Titans, and promos and stuff,
hmm
ancient sites or something. I don't remember. Anyway, so all of these expansions, take some of the best bits of that and put them into this new revamped edition. I'll probably be like on seventh heaven because it was like, yeah, that's my game. So it just this game just needs a refreshment. for me. But an
Okay.
amazing game. Still amazing game. Cycle D is my number 10.
All right.
Let's get to number 9.
I'm ready. All right, number 9, another game that was at one point on my top 100. It's a game that I never play anymore. It's just too complicated, and that's why I don't play it. I loved how it played. I loved the possibilities. The game is called Duel of Ages 2.
Mm.
And this is a game where you're a bunch of different characters and you're fighting together in an arena, except there's a million different ways to set it up with different victory conditions. And, sometimes you're going on quests, sometimes you're trying to kill each other. The game is not a looker, so let's just, take care of that one to start with. But the problem with the game is that there are just so many possibilities and it's so rules intensive that it's very difficult to say, okay, let's sit down and play this interesting sort of head-to-head battle, which I love. That's my favorite kind of game.
Mm.
But it's just there's too much going on, and it's at the point now where I don't know that I'll ever play it again. Even though I have lots of fond memories for it, I certainly don't hate the game. I just if the thought of getting it out and teaching it to somebody makes me say, no, let's just play Summoner Wars, or let's play something else, because there's just so much going on there. So I'm assuming this is also one you have not played.
No, I never will, to be honest.
Fair enough. I won't even lean on you for that one because I don't think you'll enjoy it,
Thank you,
and
sir.
there's just way too much going on.
Yeah. Right. So my number 9 is to kind of balance out your rules-heavy combat game. It is a
Hmm.
more friendly, a family-friendly game of simple rules, building up, etc. So my number 9 is Quadropolis,
Okay.
and the reason why. This is a city building game, which uses the mechanism of probably of those who haven't played Quadropolis, maybe played Meadow. Use the same mechanism of putting the
Sure.
tiles with numbers on four different sides, and then I grab the fourth tile from the left and third tile from the right, etc. All of this stuff, and then taking these are like different building tiles, and you put them next to each other, and it has this kind of a multiple scoring kind of a thing. Like this tile interacts with that tile, this tile interacts with that tile, and then you score based on that. A great game. It just I feel like it hasn't had enough of content to it to keep it going. It just fell down for me a little bit, but it's still a great game. I
Yeah.
would definitely recommend this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I played it fairly recently though, and really it holds up pretty well. It just it did need a little bit more, and it kind
Yeah.
of got
Ju-
forgotten.
ju- just maybe expand it further. I do understand that they didn't want to. They wouldn't want to make it a heavy game, but maybe for those who were really invested into this game, maybe
Add
something else.
minis in
Maybe
combat.
yeah, yeah. But maybe like with Ticket to Ride, it has several maps. Maybe for this one it will be several layouts or whatever, the special layouts,
Hmm.
Quadropolis, or maybe the sequels to Quadropolis or something like that. It's something that could have enlightened the game. But yeah,
Sure.
my number 9.
All right.
Let's get to number 8.
All right. Number 8. This is a game I think you have played, and I don't think you love. Uh, it's a large, sprawling, traveling the world adventure game fighting ancient evils. The game is Eldritch Horror. Um, Eldritch Horror has kind of fallen off the list. Look, Arkham Horror is gone from the list. Eldritch Horror is kind of following on its heels just because there's just too much there now. It was promised that it wouldn't have too many expansions. It immediately then did. And look, they're fun expansions. They add lots of interesting things to explore and do, and I like them. But it's just such a huge game that is going to take you forever to set up, forever to clean up. And if someone's new, you got to sort stuff out if you don't want to add the expansions in. Not as bad as Arkham, but there's just so much going on in this game that really makes me at the point where if somebody came over and said, let's play Eldritch Horror, I might say no. Not that I don't enjoy the game. It's just I have no desire to set it up and deal with it. Now, if I went back to Arkham Knights again and it were set up already and somebody wanted to play it, I would be fine, right? Because I enjoy the game, I enjoy the stories, but it's a little bit too long. There's a little bit too many rules, a little bit too lucky at some points. Still a great game, but I've definitely cooled down on it.
Yeah, it is too lucky. It's a luck fest. It's long. It didn't fix the problems the Arkham Horror the third edition had. You know, and I love Arkham Horror the third edition for what it
I think you
is,
mean second edition.
or the second edition, or second edition probably. Yeah,
Yeah, third
yeah.
edition
So
came out after this.
okay, so second edition, whatever. There's so many editions. It's hard to keep
Mm-hmm.
track of. But um, but the Arkham Horror did is concentrate into this one particular city that you felt you're in this story kind of a thing. What Eldritch Horror did. Let's expand everything, do this and that, and where I felt like I lost the sense of the world, I lost the sense of connection to this world because I read when I played Arkham Horror. After that, I read the various Lovecraft stories, and
Ugh,
then
I'm
I played
sorry.
Eldritch Horror. No, I mean like no, I mean after that I played the Eldritch Horror, and I should have connected with it more after reading the Lovecraft stories. I connected with it less because it felt so unthematic, in my opinion. This game is not as thematic as people say. It just I don't understand it. I think it's overrated because uh like like let's take a theme away. Let's just think about this one. When I was in one corner of this world map, why the world? Why we are the saviors of the world? Well, right away. I don't think it should be like that. It was always about some small places having some weird fish-eyed people, whatever. It's like stuff like that. That would be so much more interesting. But this one, I was in one corner of the world, and then there's monsters popping out at the other side of the world. Like I don't care, and it didn't bother me. The gates opening, they didn't bother me. Nothing bothered me. I was like, I'm doing this stuff in Australia here. You know, it just I never felt connected, not mechanically wise, not theme wise. Oh yeah, sorry. It's just an overrated game,
So you've cooled on it
not a
too.
good game. I dislike this version of Arkham Horror, let's say, because it's just a version of Arkham Horror which they
Uh,
coded into a different game. No,
I still enjoy it, but I've definitely come down on it a lot.
now you see the light. Good, good. Anyway, I'm sorry. Um, my number 8 is also a big game. Also, quite a few rules. Also, why this game just suffers from this kind of a cooldown, and that's Robinson Crusoe. I mean, like
Fair
when I
enough.
played this one, amazing, amazing. Uh, but all these rules and all that difficulty, it's just mind-boggling how he could have just streamlined the game so much more.
Yep.
I mean, like it has so much potential to be a even better game, and like in nowadays design. I mean, like it just at that time maybe when I played like Merchants and Marauders as well, etc. I was like, okay, I don't care. I'm gonna read all these rules. Then I'm gonna reread the rules next time I play the game and read the rules again. I'm okay at that time. Nowadays, when I see the new designs coming out, and when I'm like, it's all logic. It's so logical. It's so cool. Like for example, let's say even this Paleo is as a survival co-op game. Yes, it's not as huge as big, but it's so much fun, and I don't care. It's more fun than Robinson Crusoe. Like that's the thing. Where when I play nowadays co-op games, I feel like Robinson Crusoe is just a an old design that just needs so much more streamlining. So I've cooled down on this one quite a bit.
Okay.
Because it's just too much. It just the same. It needs a new edition. Like totally not
Well,
the new edition again, where with the same stuff, nothing changes, but the new Robinson Crusoe, the new adventures. Where put the app in. Like, dude,
mm,
this should be in a Forgotten Waters type game.
well, and that to be fair, that was tried, but I think it needed a different app developer.
That was tried with on Mars theme,
Yes, the
which,
Mars theme one, which was
but
a dud.
because he made it complex nonetheless.
Yeah.
I mean, Forgotten Waters weight, let's say if we took PGG, it's 2.5 maybe at most, or
Yeah, it's
2
a very
point
light
something.
game. Hmm.
It's a light game, but the Robinson Crusoe is 6 out of 5. Wait, it's overwhelming.
Hmm.
My God. And he never made the Mars game. It didn't it wasn't less complex because of the app. It was even more complex, I think.
It
Yeah.
was.
Because you had to have the IT degree, I think, to manage all that. I mean, I'm kidding,
Hmm.
but anyway,
Yeah, that's a fine choice. I don't know. I did consider it for my list. I didn't end up putting it on, mostly because I'm excited for the new edition,
yet
which
again,
might revive
yet
it for
again.
me.
My God. Now let's just get to number 7. Ah,
My number 7 is a game that was kind of like Summoner Wars for me when it came out. And what I mean by that is I was always wanting to play it. Like I would take it to every game night and try and introduce it to somebody, uh, which I still do with Summoner Wars. This game is a game that was an excellent two-player game. It also works well for 3 and 4. The game is called Race for the Galaxy. And I
oh,
have cooled down on it for one reason and one reason alone, and that is that I just don't want to teach it to anyone.
okay.
It's got so many symbols. This is a game that it feels a lot like Imperial Settlers to me, or 51st State, just because they kind of do the same thing, but the designer figured out that words are a better way to convey information than hundreds of complicated symbols. Look, if this is a game that if somebody knew how to play and said, let's play it, I'd say sure. I enjoy the game still, but that barrier to entry of needing a degree in cryptography was just too much, such that I have now gotten to the point where, if somebody said, I've never played that game and I heard it was good, I would say, well, maybe you should try the app.
I sorry, I have not played this game, and I don't have any desire to play this game.
Mm,
I played Jump Drive, which was, eh. Um, I played Roll for the Galaxy, which was cool, but I wasn't as enamored with it. So yeah,
well,
I don't
there you
know.
go.
Just
Well,
nothing
again,
really got me to this one.
if you've not played it, I won't pressure you to because I've cooled down on it myself.
I found my phone.
Oh, good. I'm so
It
glad.
just fell down.
All right.
That's how you find your phone. Something falls down.
Well.
Anyway,
Okay. Well, there's my number 7.
all right. My number 7 is the game near and dear to your heart, and the one that you introduced to me. But I feel like it. This is the game that should have been expanded instead of doing another version of that game. And I'm talking about Burgle Bros. Or Burgle
Okay.
Brothers. I mean, like they made Burgle Brothers 2, but I feel like it should have been an expansion to this one and maybe a bigger box. Not maybe, definitely a bigger box. Let's say okay. And I Wait, I do enjoy this puzzle game a lot. I mean, like this is a or I did enjoy a lot, and that's the premise of this list, and it has cool puzzle and mechanism of the movement, of how the guards move against you, how you reveal the tiles slowly versus just go all in and see what happens and probably get killed. It's all of that, and crack the safe. It's just a math, a puzzle, and kind of a three dimensional thinking. Not in a way, but I mean, like it's still there's like
I mean,
three floors you go through, etc. Or for a short game, you could get two floors. When I played for the first time, it felt so innovative and cool and new and flashy, and I just got bored by this puzzle. I just needed
hmm,
more. It felt samey afterwards, and then they
okay.
came out. I never played these Burger Brothers 2, but I've
Eh,
seen it and I heard that it's not the best implementation of this game.
no,
So,
the first one's definitely better. So the one thing about this, and I wish this had actually come out, but if you get the app, you can play different layouts and different floors. So like you're not
hmm,
necessarily always a 4x4 grid. And I wish that had come
hmm,
into the physical game because that kind of switches it up a little bit. It's kind of the same, right? It's the same game, but on a different sort of style of building, it makes the game
yeah,
feel a little bit different.
true, true, yeah, yeah, why not? Yeah, I can see
Hmm.
that.
But you can do that on the app.
Okay, let's get to number 6.
All right. All right. Number 6 is a game that I still enjoy quite a bit. But after playing it, I mean, look, when it came out, it was hot, hot, hot for me. And I was talking about it all the time. And now it's one where, I'd bring it out with the right person, maybe. The game is Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Born,
Mm,
a
mhm.
game that still has fantastic art. And the real problem with this game was that it was promised to be one thing and then it didn't deliver on that promise. It was promised to be sort of a game where a pack is going to come out a month and it's going to be a Fantasy Flight style living card game. But the company wasn't, was Plaid Hat and they were smaller and not able to meet that schedule. So stuff wasn't coming out fast enough. And then people, the hardcore fans got kind of bored. And then but there's too many rules for sort of the soft level fans like me who are not really going to be building decks, just sort of playing with the stuff that comes in the box. And so I got the new edition. They did after Plaid Hat fought its war of independence. They came out with a new edition and they issued update cards for all the old decks. So I have everything in the new second edition. That was very nice. It was a very reasonable price, I think. Um, so I have all the stuff, but again, there's just still so much going on in the game that for a head-to-head dueling game, it's too much overhead eh, in order to get into a game that really is a simple back and forth type game that I still really enjoy. I think there's a lot of interesting concepts in this game. The artwork continues to be fantastic. And they are releasing new stuff, but it's sort of retooled versions of old decks now. I'm still hoping for something brand new. Although no, there's some new things came out a couple of months ago, but again, not quite fast enough. A game that is fantastic, and I would play it if the right person were here. It's just a bit too much to jump in.
Yeah, I played it with you. Wasn't a fan, and but your story reminds me of the same as with the Marvel Dice Masters, where
Oh
the
yeah,
further you go, the more of these. Probably the same with all of these. Like the Magic the Gathering, I heard the same thing. Like it just if you don't start with the core, you will never catch up because it's
yeah.
like there's new mechanisms and new keywords and things are coming in, and then you get tired of that if you're playing casual. Like no, let me just give me the same core rules. Just don't give me too many of different keywords and new mechanism. Just give me more of the same, just more availability within the um within the heroes. And it
Right.
just, with such games, they just don't know where and when to stop, because
Right.
they want to print money.
Well,
That's how
that's
it is.
true.
That's
And
that's
this
the whole premise
game,
of such games.
right, and this game is from the same company that does Summoner Wars, but the way Summoner Wars does its expansions is much cleaner, right? I mean, it's just a deck you
Mm,
play by you just can play it. You can move stuff around if you
yeah.
want within certain parameters. This game was very different, right? This is you have one Phoenix Born card and a couple of special cards that are always with that character, and then everything else you want to put in. And because it was so open, it is very daunting to get in as a new player.
Yeah, yeah. Summoner Wars is more of a, you have this particular deck, and this is
Yeah,
your faction. That's it.
yeah, and there's there's maybe 10 tweaks you can make to it if you want to, but not 200, just 10. Uh, and so it's very it's done the way that I want this type of a game to be. A few new stuff to play with the same rules. Whereas this one is every deck comes out with 100 new rules, and it's just so much going on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Let it be.
there you go.
Yes.
A game I've cooled on.
My number 6 is another family type game, and it seems like maybe I'm getting into this heavier stuff now. No,
Oh,
no, it just usually the games you cool down on are the games that you've played enough, and now it's time for them to rest. Rest in peace.
uh-oh.
Uh, one of them is King of Tokyo.
Oh, yeah, I thought about this one.
Yeah, it's just, I know there's the new editions of all that, but um,
It's the same.
I don't know, whatever. But
All the new editions are the same. They're just an excuse to make me buy it again.
yeah, so with King of Tokyo, you have this kind of a Yahtzee style monsters fighting each other. It's cool. It's getting a little bit old eventually if you play it too much. And the other thing is that there are those cards. Some of the cards have a little bit too much text for them for this kind of a casual type of game. And
Yes.
because look, I played it with non-gamers, and it just eventually, when they grab the cards, they're not like this. There's that text, a ton of text. It should be like, you do this, that's it, or
Hmm.
two sentences at most. And I felt like they're less interested in the game because of these cards. But without these cards, it's not as exciting for me. So it's in the middle
Yeah.
somewhere, and then these power up cards, etc. It's all cool with me, but the people I played with, it's not the right choice. So I just cool down on it because it falls somewhere in the middle. The cards are a little bit too complex for the casual gamers, and too easy for the seasoned gamers. So King of Tokyo.
Fair enough. Yeah, I thought about that one. I still like it, but I've cooled on it a bit too.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
There we
let's
go.
get to number 5.
Number 5. Okay, number 5 is a game that was right up at the top of my top 10 for several years, and then kind of fell out. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The game is a World War II game, and it is Memoir 44.
Mhm.
Memoir 44, when it came out, I was all in, right? I got all of the stuff. I still have all of the stuff, all of the different armies, the different maps, the different units and reinforcements and everything. And it's a really fun game. It's very simple, right? It's you're going to play a card and move that many number of units. You'll attack. The attacking is really simple. You roll the dice, and it's easy to see whether you hit or miss. It was a great entry game into World War II war style games. The problem with it is that nowadays it's just it takes too long to set up and play for such a short and simple game. You've got to go through hundreds and hundreds of different terrain tiles and put them on the board. And that just takes forever. You can set up a game for an hour and then play it in 20 minutes. And and that
Yeah.
ratio was way off. If you can get it in the 8-player format, it's still a fantastic experience, and I definitely love it. But the basic 2-player game, there's other games that do the same thing that I like more now. So even though I still love Memoir 44, it's fallen out of my top 100, and it's a game that I'd go back to, but probably unwillingly, or at least with some resistance. Or I'd come over and somebody else has already set up a scenario, and then I'm good to go.
Yeah, I've never played this game, so
Yeah, it's
it's
fun,
kind of a
but
toy factor kind of thing. And World War, um I was interested in such theme as a video game type thing,
mhm.
just shooting stuff. But as a board game, I'm never interested in war type themes, just in
Okay.
general.
All right.
That's why.
Very well.
My number five is yet another, uh, let's say, exception to my area control unlikeness, and but also an easy game to get into, a really fast game in my opinion, but still
Okay.
gives you this kind of a vibe of a bigger game. Mission Red Planet.
Oh, okay.
Cool part about Mission Red Planet, it has these roll cards where you choose, and then based on the numbers, you reveal them, and then you can, you know, you can mess up other people's plans, but it's so fast and easy and breezy that you don't feel like it's a huge deal. And the role section is a central part of that. The data control majority is, you can mess it up a little bit, with some cards where you can kill other people, but mostly it's like collecting resources and then getting points for those resources, and some scoring cards which you can tuck under the certain outside areas of Mars that can manipulate the scoring there. It's all fun. To be honest, it's
Mhm.
just a breezy fun, and the way you put the Martians, or not Martians, but people, astronauts on the ships, and you can blow the ships up, and you can launch them. Everything
Yeah.
just everything just seems fun, but for some reason, maybe it is the area majority control, which I just don't like that much. I just played enough. I cooled down on that. Maybe just and what I feel is the reason I cool down on it. It needs more. Eventually, when you played it enough, it needs more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It
I
just
could see that.
because at some point I was playing it again. I was like, it's so light. Like I didn't realize before. It was like, whoa,
It
it's
is.
really fast and light. And like it's in a sense that, ooh, I would have wanted to be a little bit more difficult, like to add more. It's too streamlined, and I feel like that's where they missed with it. It's Fantasy Flight for you,
Okay.
It's just somebody else needs to publish it and just make an expansion for that,
Uh,
another planet, whatever. I don't know, mission Blue Neptune. I don't know, whatever, or yeah,
okay.
Curly
Yeah.
Saturn, whatever.
Curly Saturn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Let it be.
All
Let it
right.
be. I'm not the
Very
best.
well.
Like there's the designers who do the stuff. Uh,
Okay.
I'm just saying that it needs more at some point.
Okay. Very well.
Yeah. Let's get to number four.
I'm ready. My number four is a game that's it's this and Memoir 44 are almost here for the same reason, right? It's a game that I got into heavy, 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 and I still have so much stuff for it. And it's delightfully simple, delightfully fun, but delightfully difficult to set up and difficult to find because it's long out of print and famously so. The game is Heroescape.
Okay.
again, this is one that if I were to go to Gen Con and they had terrain set up and I didn't have to be in the tournament, I could just play. I would absolutely play it, but I'm probably never going to set my stuff up again. I probably am never going to teach it to a new player. And it's not the kind of game where if you're coming over, you can say, hey, let's jump in and play it, because it takes an hour and a half to build a scenario for this game. And it's sort of drowning in its own expandability, right? I mean, if you've got 200 characters you can play, I can't just say pick three, because there's just too much going on. I really think the game was fantastic. It was essentially replaced for me by Summoner Wars, which is designed to do the same thing with, without all that stuff. Again, this Heroescape is a fantastic game, and if you have an ability to try it sometime, it's probably worth your while. But I've come down so far on it just because there's so much here. I just don't know if I'm ever going to play it again, unless, if I had a child, maybe I would. But yeah, it's fallen for me a lot.
Yeah.
And it
All
took
right.
it took fall damage.
Okay. My number 4 is the game I was the champion of, kind of and you didn't like
Uh-oh.
this game.
Oh.
And yeah, it's called Top Home. Top Home.
Oh. Yeah. Fair enough. That one fell
Look,
for me too.
when I played this game, I really enjoyed it. I was like, "Ooh, that's a great game!" And it's really cool game of two moles trying to see each other, line of sight, kind of scoring with messing up other opponents. You can make it more tactical. You can make it more defensive, more attack oriented. Because there are a ton of different decks, and you roll dice at the beginning of the setup to kind of see what decks you get in, or you can just customize yourself and make the game maybe less aggressive, more aggressive, etc., and some other modules as well. So all of that is really cool. But when I played the game, I was like, I don't know, I just don't feel like the central idea of the moles seeing each other is enough for me anymore. I could just cool down on this one for whatever reason.
Okay.
I don't know what reason. It's just not as exciting anymore for me, and that's top of my
Well,
number 4.
yeah, it definitely wasn't all that exciting for me to begin with. So
All
I
right,
understand.
all right, that's fine. That's fine. I'll remember that. Okay, yeah. Let's get to number 3.
Hmm. Okay, my number 3 is a game that I've cooled down on, mostly because some other games have come out and essentially replaced it for me. And that game is a game that when it came out, I thought it was so fantastic. I remember Victor was here and we just played it like for 10 hours. It was, it's because we were just having so much fun. And then, every time I've gotten it out after that, I've started to see the flaws because many things have been done better in other games. The game is Seventh Continent. Um,
Okay.
Again, it's a fantastic game and a great experience. I mean, some of the experiences I've had with that game are just some of my favorite gaming experiences. But there's so much work to get this out. It takes up so much space. You have to sort the cards constantly, right? Whenever you go to a new area, you gotta put all these cards away, sort them back into their order, and bring out all these new cards, which takes a long time. And there's also really not much direction in the game. So you could play this game for 4 or 5 hours and then die and be nowhere nearer to solving your quest than when you started. It's kind of like a game I'm playing on the PlayStation, Elden Ring, right now, right? I mean, there's just so much room to explore and really so little direction that you can kind of get to the point where you feel like you just wasted a couple of hours. Yeah, I had a good time, but I didn't even touch the quest I was supposed to be doing. So it's been, games like Sleeping Gods, or the what's that game called? I'm looking for it. Destinies have sorry, it's sitting over here, have kind of replaced it for me by giving me that same exploration feel, but with a lot more, not direction, not sort of railroading me to a conclusion, but sort of hints of maybe you should do this. Or in Sleeping Gods, right? You don't have a goal. Any hole is a goal. You can you can go anywhere you like, and at each location you visit, you're going to find something. I remember in Seventh Continent one experience where I went into this cave, right? Victor and I found our way into this cave, and we spent the whole game exploring in this cave, and we got to the end, and it was sort of your princess is in another castle, right? It was very clearly intended to be for a different scenario than the one we were playing. And that was a little bit disappointing. So again, I love the game, and I see its praises, but I've cooled on it personally because one, there's so much going on. I mean, in terms of maintenance, and then two, there's some other games that give me that same exploration feel, but with a lot less overhead.
All right. Yeah, I haven't played it enough to feel I've cooled down on this one, so I've still a lot
Well,
to explore.
good. You'll have a good time doing it. It's
Thank
not a
you.
bad game by any means.
Thank you. All right, so my number three is the one I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. The one that has the crossroads system. That's the Winter.
Mm-hmm.
The Winter. Great game. When I first heard about this one, I was like, oh, it's going to be my favorite game. And it was at some point kind of my favorite game, or almost
Looks
my
like it's a
favorite
10
game.
out of 10 for you.
I mean, I don't change ratings that
Okay.
much. I might change it later, but I just sometimes I forget. So
Sure.
I just don't care about the ratings. Yeah, but this one, it just the way it works, it just can be a good session or not so good session. And eventually now we have Forgotten Waters, which does the crossroads system better, and the other games that do this kind of cooperation and decision making and things a tiny bit better. And this kind of a trader mechanism here, I don't feel like it was implemented that well. Like, especially when I played Nemesis, I was like, Nemesis does the same. It's everybody is like on their own, but we work together. So, and Nemesis does this so much better. So that's why there are several games that came out that just basically killed the Winter for me, and I've cooled down on this one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought about this one too, but obviously there's only room for 10. I've also cooled down on this one though. Just again, kind of the same reason is that I could play something else. I
Yeah.
still like it though, but I don't know when I'll go back to it.
All right. Okay. Let's get to number two.
All right, my number two. My number two is a game. So I mentioned how much money I've spent on a game. This definitely qualifies. In fact, when this game came out, we were playing it 5 times a night. My mother and I, or friends and I. I mean, we played this game so much. And I love to play it with my grandmother, but she had trouble shuffling the cards. So I printed stickers and made chips for the game so we could put them in bags and pull them out. I mean, that's how in I was on this game. And now I never play it. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that more games have come out that do it better, and that game is Dominion.
Okay.
It is still a fine game, but I don't know why I would ever pick this over any other deck building game. Right? There's so many that do deck building in new, innovative, interesting ways. If I want deck building, I could play one of those instead of this. And that's kind of how I know I've cooled on it. Because, the whole system of I've only got one action, I've only got one purchase has kind of been solved by other games who said, well, what if you got more actions and more purchases? And, there's not really any theme here. There is in things like Clank, for example. There's, you're running through the dungeon, which kind of adds extra stuff to the game that this one just didn't have. And it's gotten to the point where I didn't even buy the last couple of expansions because I just think I'm kind of done with the game. It had a great run and I really loved it, but I think I've cooled to the point that I think I'm probably done with it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I played it after playing a few other games. For example, I played Arctic Scavengers before it. I played Valley of the Kings before it, and then I played the mini. I was like, "What? I don't care about this game. This is none. This is so vanilla. This just brings nothing new. I mean, like all the other deck builders are so much better, in my opinion. And I do understand the nostalgia people have, and the ease of play probably or something like that. But I just I think this craze is all about nostalgia more. With quite a few games, there's so much nostalgia
That's
about
true.
these games. I even think Ticket to Ride is all about nostalgia and not about being a great game now. There's just new games that that are better designs, but because everybody plays it, because everybody plays Monopoly, Monopoly is everybody's heart. Okay, so it's the same vibe here. I'm not saying
Okay.
the other games, the older games are bad. I'm just saying it's just the nostalgia part is so huge that it manipulates our thought process in the sense that how much we like the game exactly. It's my
Sure.
opinion though. So the Minion is one of
Fair
them. I
enough.
see people putting them on their lists and like, but have you tried all the others deck building
Well,
games?
I put it
What
on my
about
list.
yeah? Anyway,
I put it right here on this list.
on this list, yeah.
There we go.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
yours?
All right. So just give me a tiny moment.
Ooh, so suspenseful.
Oh yeah, and I'm very sorry about that, but it's just getting worse with every minute. My God. My number two is another game that I gave my copy away to a friend who loved this game, and I do love this game. I'm like it. This where it has a lot of this nostalgic reason why I still would play and enjoy this game, but not in a sense of pure mechanical or like this kind of a excitement reason, and that's Red 7. I've just played.
Okay.
No, it's a great game. It's a great game, hands
Sure.
down. It is. Like people say that's no, it's such a genius game in my opinion. The multi-use of cards, numbers, colors, and rules. It's just some cards. It's a deck of cards. And it works so well. It's amazing how it works. And you
Mm-hmm.
play it so many times in a row. I just love it. I've just played it enough. I've just explored
So have I.
everything that's to explore there. So my number two, Red 7, just overplayed it.
Very well.
Okay, let's get to the
Number
final
one.
number one. Yes.
All right. My number one is a game that when it came out, I thought this is going to be the greatest game of all time, right? It gave me everything I was looking for. It sort of got to, we talked about Ashes a while ago, where, you're building, you can construct a deck and you might draw stuff out. But this one gave me the idea of what if I had my whole deck in my hand the entire game? The game is called Mage Wars.
Okay.
And I specifically mean the first edition, not the Academy. I guess it's called Arena now. I don't know if it's called anything anymore. Um, this was sort of the game that brought Arcane Wonders out, and it was you've got this wizard of some sort, and you're in a duel in an arena fighting another wizard, and you're summoning up creatures and casting spells and finding enchantments, all this stuff. And the hook was you've got those binders. In that binder are all of your cards, and each turn you're going to select two that you might want to play. And you can select anything you want. You've always got it. It's in your deck. You've got it in your hand. I was blown away by that possibility. It was so exciting. But there's a problem, right? If you're going to hand a book of 30 cards to someone and say, please pick two, that's going to take quite a while if that person does not know what's in that book. And so, what really happens in the game is you kind of sit there watching somebody flip through all of his cards, and you sort of think, geez, I wish you only had five to look through. And the combat rules are a little bit convoluted, right? There's the slow and fast stuff with the spells that adds some rules overhead that's a little bit heavier than maybe you'd like. And I got to the point where I wanted to play it less and less and less. In my mind, I still always want to play it. Right. I mean, if somebody who knows the game comes over and is willing to teach it to me again because it's been so long since I played it, uh, then I would probably play it again. I remember I got some of the last wizards that came out, like this necromancer, who was amazingly fun, and then nobody ever wanted to play it again.
Yeah, yeah.
The second edition, the Academy version, came out, which is kind of the same thing, but without the grid moving. I kind of preferred the version with the grid moving. I thought some of the characters were a little bit more fun in that. It also suffered from the same problem we talked about with this type of game, where there is just too many cards, right? I mean, you're building your library of 30 or so from a codex of 200 or 2,000 cards. It's difficult to kind of go through and parse those now and make yourself. I wish it just came out with, a list of 10 really good decks to play for each character and go from there. Too many tokens, too much. There's just so much going on, and the barrier to entry is so monumentally high that I have, as a person who loves the game, come down on it, cooled on it a lot, just because I can't ever play it as much as I would want to. I just won't ever be able to play it again because there's too much, sadly. So also, it's impossible to store everything. That's another problem. A game that I thought was the best game ever for a while. Well, other than Summoner Wars, of course, but but a game that I've cooled on so much that I just don't think I'm coming back to. Mage Wars, specifically the arena version.
I never got into it for that same reason. It's just too much to get into.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I never got into this one. So yeah, but I do love mages. The theme itself. I mean, like whenever I play a video game, if there's a mage, I pick mage. A wizard,
Mm-hmm.
because I just do love them. And this one just nope. I just don't want to uh, invest that much time and
Understood.
knowledge into it. All right, so the final one, number one for me, is uh, a genre, and that's because like I can never put them into kind of a like, oh, this is this game, particular game, this is that particular game, or system or something like that. I would call them systems, but I'm talking about escape room games in general, because you can mix and match them. You can play this or that or that. There's so many different systems. The most popular ones are the exit room and the unlock, the exits and unlock, and I would still play unlock. Uh, some of these scenarios, but I've definitely cooled down them, because at the time when they came out, like, I need to get it now and just put it on the table and play it right now. This is the first thing I want to play if I get it. The very first thing. Love them all, but I would still play Unlock. I don't have a craze about it anymore. Like, if I get it, if I see it in the shop, I will get it. I will play it. That's fine. I'm gonna enjoy it. But the exit ones, especially, I'm gonna just go with the exit. But I mean, like, all of these escape from games I cool down on, but the exits are the most, because they are so tactile, and it just, I feel like they've done everything they could uh, for me. Everything else is just, kind of a repeating the same stuff, maybe with from a
Yeah.
different angle, but still repeating the stuff. And I feel like I just don't want to play them anymore. Each time I do, I just recently did the new one, like the newer one, I don't know, whatever the next one, which I didn't do. It's like, okay, and half of them are not as good. Half of them are 5 out of 10. So some of them are 7 or 8 out of 10. Unlocks were more consistent for me because unlocks use the theme, the app, and everything like that. They're better design overally than the exit ones. The exit ones are just this tactile puzzles and things, and I don't know. I just
Yeah.
it not fun anymore. I just played this one recently. I had no fun
Oh, well, that's
at
very
all.
sad.
So
Okay.
that's where I feel like this is my number one game, or this is the whole genre. But let's if I need to pick particular, then exit system is the one that I'm
Okay.
cooled down on the most from the escape room games, but the escape room games overly in general. So yeah,
Sure.
all right.
All right. Well, there you go.
So
That's the list.
this has been the topic of the day, and this has been the episode of Würfelcast 64. Let's get back to this one, and I hope you liked or didn't like our picks, whatever. Just comment about the stuff, and we'll see you in another episode. And by the way, um that should have come out. Daniel asked something about unlocks. To be honest, I don't know. I don't even look at the new unlocks that come
Oh,
out. If I play them, I play them.
yeah.
I I'm not
I
sure.
don't know about two that are coming out. Yeah, I agree with that one. I play these games so seldom that I'm probably 4 or 5 releases back on Unlocked, just because I kind of cooled on them a little bit faster than you did.
Yeah. I kind of felt like I really want to play them more. I think it was the kind of a the feeling that I need to play them more than I probably cooled down on
Sure.
them some time ago as well, but just didn't admit it. I couldn't admit it. I was a champion. Okay.
Fair enough.
Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you another time.
Sounds
Have a great
great.
day.
You too. Well,
Bye
I guess.
bye.
Bye bye.
Uh,
Yeah, you
we're
two's
talking
kind of
to.
random.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Anyway,
too.
you
Bye
too.
bye.